Hello, it's Dr. Jackie Taylor. We're in week 9 of ECD 106, using technology for documentation of dramatic play and using documentation for child abuse, suspicions, and looking at self-concept. Using technology for documentation. Lower costs have made electronic media a viable option for documentation in the classroom. It's able to capture details that not even the most fluent writer can convey. Technology use, not just for learning, but also for documentation and communicating with families, is a responsibility of early childhood educators. Technology tools can be used to document, archive, and share developmental information with families, electronically or face-to-face. Professional development and learning communities can assist in helping teachers learn and use technology tools. There are many electronic recording devices. Photography has become easier and less expensive with digital photography and has gained popularity in the field of teacher inquiry, especially due to the influence of Reggio Emilia. Recording voices is especially useful to gather speech and language samples. Video recording devices are affordable, easy to use, and efficient in almost any kind of light and setting. Zoom capabilities allow recording from a distance. Mounting a video camera on the wall or in a central location in the room can provide a way to record all the events happening in one area. It is essential to receive the permission of each child's family to record their child using audio, video, or photographic recording methods. Computers can store vast amounts of documentation data, both textual and visual, without taking up closet or file cabinet storage space. Data are easily manipulated into various formats for both individual portfolios and whole group documentation. Information is later documented and downloaded into regular computers and stored there or on a CD. Scanners can take photographs and drawings and transform them into digital files, easily stored and shared. The child's work can be shared with families via email, CD, or on a flash drive. Confidentiality is an issue with any documentation technique, but using audio, video, or photography as a documentation technique carries with it some additional concerns. Obtain informed consent. This must be given and understood by the individual, or family consent must be given for minors. Maintain confidentiality. Take reasonable precautions to protect information storage. Obtain permission. Explicit permission is required for voice or image recording. Audio recording, video recording, or photography can be used to record and document any area of development. How to find the time. It does take time to learn and use new equipment. The more you use technology, the more familiar you will become. After some practice, it will become second nature to use that camera or audio recorder. Once you get to that level, you will see how much time it saves in writing. What to do with it? Audio recordings of an individual child are kept in the child's portfolio. They can be analyzed for speech and language development. A video recording is a replay of live action. This episode can be viewed repeatedly, hearing and seeing what took place. Segments can be closely examined for relevance to developmental assessment. Photographs can be added to the child's portfolio to illustrate comments about areas of development. They add visual information to anecdotal records. Audio, visual recordings can be used to document, share, and archive children's development. I like that recordings capture real visual and sound images of a child. I do not like that using equipment can be complicated and purchasing equipment can be expensive. Let's do a quick review on using technology. How is confidentiality an issue when using technology? Stop the recording and look at the answers. Choose the correct response. The correct answer is D. Most photos have more than one child in them. Number 2. At the end of the school year, what is best to do with all the photos that are taken? Stop the video, read the responses, and choose the correct answer. The correct answer is C. Give them to the family and child. Number 3. Which of the following are disadvantages to audio recording devices? Stop the video, read the responses, and choose the correct answer. Correct answers are B, C, and D. B is expense, C, invasion of privacy, and D, quality of recording. Moving on to dramatic play. David Elkind categorized play into 4 major types: mastery, innovative, kinship, and therapeutic. Mastery play is repetitive action in which the child explores the physical properties of an object using all senses. Innovative play is when the child takes what he has learned through exploration and then he experiments on what can be done with the object or movement. Kinship play is sharing an experience with or without verbal communication that creates a bond. Therapeutic play is using play as a way of dealing with stress. Children play in different ways at different ages and stages. Infants often imitate adult actions. Young toddlers explore the physical world by playing with objects. Older toddlers begin imaginary play. Preschoolers have an expanded sense of fantasy. Young school-agers do not engage in dramatic play as much. They focus more on reality. They like games with rules. Figure 12-4 shows the changes in imaginative play that children can experience. Dramatic play can occur anywhere that children are because it is spontaneous, child-initiated, and part of normal development. Sociodramatic play is the interaction between 2 or more children in a play theme, with each holding separate roles. This often follows family life routines such as cooking, childcare, and male-female interactions. Teacher guide of creative dramatics is story play inspired by a book or finger play. The classic 3 Little Pigs or Goldilocks and the 3 Bears are examples that could be used. Another variation of this kind of creative dramatics is story dictation. One child or group of children write a storyline and act as producers and directors, selecting actors to carry out the storyline. The rest of the class acts as the audience. The teacher is a facilitator, assisting with the production and the presentation. However, her more important role is leading the follow-up conversation about the meaning of the play, the conflicts raised, and the possible solutions. Dramatic play intersects with several developmental domains. The teacher's role begins with setting the environment. Planning for dramatic play necessitates a space dedicated for equipment, materials, and props that relate to the theme and can be used by the children independently. The teacher acts as the mediator, supporting children's interactions and assisting in resolving conflicts over materials or roles by providing more props and suggesting alternatives for disputed roles. The teacher may also be an onlooker, acknowledging what the children are doing and expressing appreciation for their play. When the object is to enrich children's play with literacy, language, self-help skills, social development, executive function, or inclusion of children with special needs, the teacher takes on a more involved role. The teacher may facilitate the play by introducing play theme and modifying it by suggesting roles and dialogue and asking probing questions. The teacher may take on a participatory role as a player, acting as one of the characters, providing characters with vocabulary and dialogue, and expanding the storyline of the play. When using video to record spontaneous dramatic play, a follow-up interview with the players can yield information about the child's thinking and emotions while they played. Questions can include, "Tell me about what you're playing here. Why did you choose that? Why did you say that? You didn't have a blank, so what did you use instead? How does it make you feel to be that? Are there things you don't like to play? Why? If you could play that over again, what could you change?" A variety of methods can record play for later analysis, such as class list logs, checklists, anecdotal or running records, and rating scales. Dramatic play areas should include items from the children's culture and everyday life, such as cooking utensils and food packaging. The materials should portray a variety of work roles, disabilities, and be free of gender bias. The skin tone of dolls should reflect a variety of groups, but not limited to those in the class grouping. The teacher looks for ways that the child with disabilities can participate and for ways to make such accommodations familiar and accepted by the other children in the group. Help every child feel accepted and valued. Using documentation for child abuse suspicions and looking at self-concept. Review and learn these definitions related to child abuse. These can be found in your textbook. Early childhood programs have a responsibility to keep children safe. Stop the video and read through these responsibilities of early childhood professionals. Stop the video and read through these responsibilities of early childhood professionals. Teachers and child care workers must be familiar with the physical and behavioral indicators of abuse. The suspicion of child abuse or neglect grows from visual observations, verbal disclosures, or an accumulation of circumstances that build to a reasonable cause of suspect. For infants and preverbal children, abuse and maltreatment can be observed in the normal routines of being with the child. In the first year, neglected infants learn that everything is transient because that is the way the care has been, inconsistent and unpredictable. So this kind of neglect results in a child who fails to cry when a toy is taken away, seeks attention from anyone with no separation anxiety. Beginning language is often delayed. For the next 3 years, children who have been abused or neglected show little interest in toys or exploring the environment. They are hypervigilant, constantly watching for adults' cues to gauge personal safety. They often fail to make eye contact, show sexual overstimulation, or simulate sex acts, have a diminished capacity for play, and exhibit many fears and phobias. The early school years review developmental delays in all areas and either an extremely passive or aggressive behavior toward others. The child may say, "My mommy twisted my arm," or "Uncle John hurt me in my goo-goo." Comments like these always catch teachers by surprise, but it is important to maintain composure so that facial or verbal expressions do not reveal the shock, revulsion, or disapproval of what has happened to this child. An appropriate response is, "Would you like to tell me more?" This expresses concern, being open to listening but not probing for more details. These disclosures call for an immediate action and documentation. Once a mandated reporter has reasonable cause to suspect, probing for all the details is not necessary. If a child willingly offers and needs to talk about it, by all means be a ready listener. Then accurately document both the child's comments and anything you say as well. It is important not to act shocked or disgusted. Be willing to listen and do not deny the child's statements. The less you say in these situations, the better. Leave interrogations to the law enforcement and the Child Protective Services professionals. Suspicious injuries may suggest child abuse or maltreatment. Children's explanations are often protective statements. Behavioral indicators by themselves are not sufficient basis for a report, but they should be documented and discussed with the supervisor. Teachers play an important role in child protection for identifying and reporting suspected child abuse and neglect, providing input related to treatment services for the child and family, providing support services for the parent, serving on interdisciplinary teams, and establishing policies related to reporting and responding to maltreatment. Stop the video and read this review of the research about early childhood teachers reporting child abuse. Stop the video and continue to read about the research. The most appropriate method for recording episodes that document suspected abuse or maltreatment is anecdotal record. It is effective for this information because the accounts are written shortly after the episode or the event occurs, contains detailed accounts including dates and time, people involved in the episode, actions, and exact conversation, and contains separate comments recorded by the recorder. Immediate notification of the supervisor is the first step. The child abuse hotline required in every state should be called immediately, either by the supervisor or the witness, depending on the policies and procedures already in place in the program. The exception to this is if there is suspicion of sexual abuse or if the life of the child is in danger. In that case, the law enforcement agency should be called immediately. If for some reason the supervisor does not make the call and the teacher has reason to suspect there has been possible abuse, then there is a legal and moral responsibility for the teacher to make the call. Every state has laws for reporting child abuse and a reporting number. School personnel and child care workers are mandated reporters by law in every state. A mandated reporter must report any reasonable cause to suspect a child has been maltreated. Not reporting suspected neglect or abuse could result in legal action. Reporters of suspected abuse are not responsible for proving the abuse, just for presenting the observable facts that lead to suspicions. The reporter will be asked to supply as much information as possible. This is the one time when what was observed should not be discussed with the family or the child after the initial disclosure. Do not discuss this suspicion or report with anyone other than the supervisor of the program and the authorities. Review the NAEYC Code of Ethical Conduct and Statement of Commitment. Principles related to child abuse and neglect in Section 13.1f of your textbook. Child rearing customs and practices are not standard between any two families, but they are often even more varied because of racial, cultural, economic, and religious differences. Sometimes these come into conflict with the value of those who have the right to interfere in the family's life. In the case of child abuse, it is important that all families understand the law's mandate and the program's responsibility to report all cases of suspected maltreatment. Child rearing has distinctive differences among various cultures concerning obedience and punishment. Children with developmental disabilities are often victims of abuse, with some indications that abuse occurs at higher rates among these children than the general population. Children with special needs present challenges for parents, teachers, and caregivers who can feel isolated, frustrated, unsupported, and with no control of the situation. Observation of abuse is even more critical for children with disabilities because they lack the verbal, physical, or mental skills to protect themselves or disclose what has been happening. The same criteria for signs of abuse are used for children with different abilities. As mandated reporters, teachers must document and report suspected child abuse or maltreatment. Looking at self-care, self-concept. The newborn infant is not aware of separateness from the environment. The knowledge of separateness is attained by the end of the first year. After mastering walking, the toddler practices becoming more separate physically. In preschool years, children talk about being a boy or girl, how old they are, how big they are, and what toys they have. They are beginning to realize their thoughts are parts of a private self. Early school agers are beginning to see themselves as others see them, and internalizing rules for behavior based on how others will react to them. Figure 13-8 shows the development of self-concept in children. Self-esteem is a valuing of knowledge based on self and social comparison. The family has the primary influence over the child's self-esteem. Children with high self-esteem have parents who are warm and accepting, provide reasonable expectations for mature behavior, and engage in positive problem solving. Adults who are critical, non-supportive, sarcastic, threatening, or emotionally unavailable give the message that the child is not worthwhile. Schools also have a major part to play in the building of a child's self-esteem. Children need to build a sense of competency, to have an environment that experiences that develop real skills in the cognitive, physical, social, and emotional realms. They need to feel they have the power to make things happen. Involvement in decision-making and understanding clear and realistic expectations help children feel powerful. They thrive in a predictable environment where there are plenty of opportunities to make choices. Their opinions and ideas are accepted as worthy, and the curriculum capitalizes on their strengths. Teachers give informative praise that gives specific reactions and focuses on what children know and do. The child's self-concept is observed while assessing each of the child's developmental areas. The characteristics of confidence, curiosity, and independence are seen as displays of high self-esteem, while a sober demeanor and to make eye contact or to speak may be seen as low self-esteem. The child's culture should be considered before making inferences about self-esteem, concentrating on descriptors of behavior rather than judgments by Euro-American standards.